Today on CTV News at 5, disappointed. Medicine Hat residents expected good news from the Premier and say they were left with confusion. Bound for trial, a Lethbridge man behind bars for child prostitution has been committed to stand trial. And bottoms up, Lethbridge is about to get its own microbrewery.
CTV News with ELISSA Carpenter.
Good afternoon. Premier Alison Redford's visit to Medicine Hat today was an emotional one. Many flood victims came out to welcome her, and they were hoping for more help to come their way.
No, thank you, Premier. You have no idea what it means.
Medicine Hat residents who've been out of their homes since the flood were happy to see Redford in their city. Their homes are uninhabitable. That's because giant sinkholes have formed where the ground has eroded. They want the province to buy them out, even though they are not in the flood zone, not even in the fringe. But they didn't get what they expected. Kevin Green was there when the Premier arrived today. And Kevin, residents aren't very happy about this, are they?
They sure weren't. The people here were hoping the Premier was coming to announce a buyout, and there is some precedent for that. After the last floods here in Medicine Hat, several homes in the area were bought out after the flood, and the way that worked was the province bought the buildings and the city of Medicine Hat bought the land. Now, the people here now say that kind of a process takes too long with two levels of government. They want something done more quickly. Now, the Premier, when I pressed her on it, said ultimately, a decision in that case would be up to the city of Medicine Hat. People here say they're angry and they're disappointed.
Well, I got a problem right now that's happening. I thought we were hoping she would address that today. That's why she was coming to this particular house. However, that was not the case. This meeting could have been had at City Hall. It was really directed towards the government of Medicine Hat.
Disappointed?
Very.
On hand this morning when the Premier spoke were 4 of the 8 councillors on the Medicine Hat City Council. I asked each of them individually if they would support buying out the people whose houses were undermined during the flood and are now unlivable. Each of them said yes, they would. It's only 4 out of 8 councillors. It's not a full majority, but it does give you an indication of where a vote like that might go. And interestingly, all 4 of the aldermen said Medicine Hat City Council has the money to do it. In fact, they all said Medicine Hat City Council has a lot of money with which they could do that.
All right, thanks for the update, Kevin. Now, the Premier got a warmer reception in Vauxhall, where she opened a new water treatment plant. It will provide water for Vauxhall and the hamlets of Enchant and Hayes through an expanded 57 kilometers of pipeline. It also has the capacity to serve farms in the MD of Taber once rural water co-ops are established. The total cost of the plant and pipeline was just over $19 million. $16 million came in the form of a provincial grant. Vauxhall's mayor says his town was in desperate need.
Well, we were holding it together with Band-Aids. It was really in bad shape. 2 years ago, we got hit by lightning and we lost our backup system. So we had to put a whole new backup system in there. It was time.
Well, it's tremendously important. It doubles the capacity. It's taken 3 existing water treatment facilities and consolidated them into one to ensure that we're able to provide water at an effective cost to ratepayers.
The Premier is in Taber tonight to help kick off Cornfest and will attend the Whoop Up Days Grand Rodeo tomorrow. A huge forest fire is burning in the East Kootenay region. It's burning at Numa Creek in Kootenay National Park. Nearly a month ago, a lightning strike started the fire, but it wasn't until yesterday that it really took off. A helicopter is standing by along with roughly 25 firefighters. But officials say right now the greatest danger is on the roads where smoke has hampered visibility. And time now to check in with David, who's in for a vacationing Dory Rossiter. And David, I guess that forest fire, firefighters there are really depending on the wind and the weather conditions.
Yes, and the wind has been blowing some of that smoke into parts of southern Alberta since last night when the fire took off. We started to see the smoke coming into parts of southern Alberta. Gave us a nice red sunset in many areas, a very orange moon overnight last night as well. And you might want to check it out tonight. If some of that smoke comes across overnight tonight, we may see the same effect from the smoke. We've got a very warm and sunny forecast for you for the weekend and next week later in the program.
Thank you, David. A man has been committed to stand trial in what Lethbridge police are calling one of the most disturbing prostitution cases they've ever come across. Police picked up 32-year-old Memphis Gross Venture Boy back in February. Gross Venture Boy is charged with procuring a 13-year-old girl for prostitution, then selling her sexual services to a 61-year-old man. We can't reveal what evidence was presented because today's hearing was a preliminary inquiry. The purpose of the hearing was to determine if there's enough evidence to take the case to trial. Gross Venture Boy has been behind bars since his arrest last spring. His next court appearance is in September 23rd to discuss bail and fix a trial date. Gross Venture Boy has elected trial by judge alone. Police know who drowned in Henderson Lake but aren't releasing the man's identity. Two people walking through the park saw the man go into the water. They say he was thrashing around, then disappeared beneath the surface. His body was recovered the next morning. An autopsy has been scheduled to determine if drugs or alcohol might have played a role in his death. Some residents in Colehurst thought gun violence had erupted in their community, but it turned out to be less sinister. Mounties rushed to a mobile home park yesterday afternoon after receiving reports of possible gunshots. Officers searched yards and knocked on doors. Witnesses say some kids were setting off firecrackers. Frightened neighbors say it sounded like something far more serious.
Big bang in the neighborhood, and we weren't too sure which direction it came from. Maybe hard to say what it was.
I was in the house. I heard a bang that definitely sounded as either a high caliber rifle or maybe a 5.10 shotgun. I made a quick check and then I phoned the RCMP to tell them that because we have a problem up here with drug dealers and there's been shootings here before.
RCMP say they never did find the kids responsible. 6 Air Canada employees in Medicine Hat could face layoffs after a labor arbitrator ruled some services at Medicine Hat Regional Airport could be contracted out. Local ticket agents were informed of the decision in July. It means Air Canada Jazz can move ahead with plans to find a local contractor to provide booking and front desk services. According to the union that represents the workers, the airline is trying to reduce costs in the face of increased competition, but the union says the public will be affected since the work will be done by inexperienced people. They say across the country about 200 employees could lose their jobs over the next 3 years. Meantime, the federal government says it's extending programs aimed at creating jobs for small businesses and the agribusiness sector. National Revenue Minister Carrie Lynn Findlay was in Lethbridge meeting with community and business leaders. While the hiring tax credits aren't new, the program is being extended and limits are being increased. Findlay says that means an additional 35,000 small businesses will be eligible for the tax credits and apprenticeship incentives.
We're trying to increase the participation in the workforce, and we know that small businesses are the backbone of the economy. I believe here in Alberta, 97% of all businesses would be considered small business. So this is where jobs are. This is where our economic prosperity will grow best.
The tax credits are designed to give small businesses some relief from EI premiums and provide more apprenticeship opportunities for ag equipment and heavy-duty technicians. Paperwork is also being streamlined. A new microbrewery is set to open its doors in Lethbridge as soon as next year. Wildcraft Brewery will break ground next month on 43rd Street near Highway 3. The owners say only local ingredients will be used to make 8 different brews. They say Lethbridge beer connoisseurs have been missing out on the beer-making process.
People are really excited, and part of the thing that's really excited about this project is it's not just a little brewery with a little teeny pub on the side. This is a real microbrewery that will can, keg, bottle, with full tours, a big tasting room so you can see the entire operation. When we're doing tours, you can walk through, give everyone the experience, and literally pull a bottle right off the line and say, try nice fresh beer.
And the operators are hoping the brewery will be up and running in September of next year. Deborah Pallett and Scott Crichton, Wildcraft Breweries. CP Rail is being ordered to end an embargo on the railway company behind the Lac Mégantic disaster. The Canadian Transportation Agency says CP's boycott would cause major financial harm to MM&A. CP has been blocking the railway from getting cargo such as crude oil over concerns about its ability to handle hazardous loads. In July, a runaway train derailed in Lac Mégantic, killing 47 people. It's the video that has people talking motorcycle versus bear, and everyone survived. John Woodward now with the incredible story.
Call it a Kodiak moment. A bear and a motorcycle colliding on the highway. The grisly accident caught on camera.
When you see the bear coming out, it's just like, oh no.
Let's go back to the beginning to see how that happened. The motorcyclist pauses at the side of the low-heat highway to adjust his helmet cam and points it down at the speedometer. He roars off, still looking down, and you can see the speedometer is going from 0 to 140 kilometers an hour in just 20 seconds. He doesn't seem to notice the train at the left side of the screen or the fact that there is a black bear running from it. By that point, there's nothing he can do. Police say there's a lesson here.
When the driver finally sees the bear, he's got no time to do anything to prevent the accident. Just too fast, not enough distance.
Corporal Robert McDonald says Mountie seized the video while investigating the single vehicle accident on June 30th. He says it's an extreme example of distracted driving.
We're hoping this educational video will show that when we say it's dangerous, you never know what's going to happen. Who would have expected a bear to come running across the highway?
There are more than 120,000 black bears in British Columbia, so it's not unusual to see one at the side of a highway. Provincial statistics say about 180 bears are hit each year on BC highways. Police say distracted driving collisions are usually related to cell phone use while driving. The bear walked away from the accident. The biker barely made it out alive, with broken bones and a concussion. Police say they used the helmet cam video to give him a $138 speeding ticket. John Woodward, CTV News, Hope.
A new poll is shedding some light on some of the sacrifices parents are making to help get their kids through school. The Leger Marketing Survey shows that 36% of Canadian parents with children under 25 are delaying their retirement to pay for college or university. Within that group, almost 1 in 5 plans to postpone retirement for at least 5 years. A third said they've taken on additional debt to help pay for tuition and other expenses. And just 2 weekends left before the summer holidays officially come to an end. David has the weekend forecast coming up. First, let's take a look at your markets.